Okay, so if I asked you to just close your eyes and picture a teenager, the classic stereotype, what do you see?
Oh, I know this one immediately. It's the eye roll.
Yeah.
It's the slam door. It's the creature that kind of shuffles out of its cave at 2 in the afternoon on a Saturday, just grunts, and then eats an entire box of cereal.
Exactly. And the mood swings, right? We have this whole cultural idea that adolescence is just this, like, terrible flu the whole family has to get through.
You just have to survive it.
Yeah, until the fever breaks around age 20. And we all think we know what causes it, don't we? We all say the same thing.
It's the hormones.
Raging hormones, I mean, it's the ultimate excuse for everything they do. But I was going through the research for today, specifically Dr. Dan Siegel's work, and he kind of pulls the rug out from under that whole theory.
He really does. And I think this is going to be the first big shock for a lot of people listening. When you actually look at the neuroscience, the raging hormone theory is, well, it's mostly a myth.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying hormones don't increase? Because I definitely remember being a teenager, and it sure felt like something was increasing.
Oh, they increase, for
Yeah.
sure. You absolutely get a surge of sex hormones during puberty. But here's the key part, the nuance. Dr. Siegel points out that the levels of those hormones, they don't actually correlate with the anger management issues or the wild risk-taking we see.
So the hormones are there, but they're not driving the bus.
Exactly. They're not the ones at the wheel.
So if it's not the chemical soup, what is it? I mean, why do perfectly sweet 10-year-olds suddenly turn into these volatile strangers at 13?
It's not chemistry. It's architecture. It's a complete structural renovation of the brain.
Right.
And that right there is the mission for this deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to try and radically reframe adolescence. We need to stop looking at it as a problem to be solved or like a glitch in the system and start seeing it for what it is,
Yeah.
a critical evolutionary period.
So we're debunking the hormone myth. We're digging into the sources. We've got Dr. Siegel's brainstorm. We have Cosmina Murasen's guide, The Calm They Borrow, Carol Dweck on mindset, and of course, Sir Ken Robinson on creativity.
It's a really solid lineup. And the goal is to follow this thread, right? We'll start with the biology,
Yeah.
what is actually happening inside the skull. Then we'll move to how that crashes into our parenting.
Right.
And finally, we'll look at how our school systems might be, well, crushing the very skills this brain renovation is trying to build.
Okay, let's start with the biology then, the renovation. Dr. Siegel uses this metaphor that it stuck with me immediately. He calls childhood the oatmeal house.
I love the oatmeal house.
Yeah?
It's such a perfect image. I mean, imagine you're 5 years old. You wake up, someone feeds you warm oatmeal. They dress you, they drive you to school, they pick you up, they read you a story. It's safe, it's predictable. All your needs are met before you even have to ask.
Honestly, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing. I'd move back into the oatmeal house right now if I could.
And that is the problem. That's exactly it. From an evolutionary point of view, the oatmeal house is a trap. If you stay there, you never learn to hunt, you never find a mate, you never survive on your own.
So nature has this problem to solve.
A massive problem.
Mm.
How do we get this creature to voluntarily leave the safest, most comfortable place on Earth?
You have to make the nest uncomfortable.
You have to make it unbearable. And you have to wire the creature for independence. So roughly between age 12 and 24, the brain kicks off this huge remodeling project.
Whoa, 12 to 24. I think most people think teenager just stops at 19.
Neurologically, no, that's a huge misconception. This remodeling phase, it persists well into the mid-20s. And during this time, you have two major things happening: pruning and myelination.
Okay, so these are the technical terms. Let's unpack them. Pruning sounds like gardening. Kind of gentle. But in the brain, it's a bit more ruthless, isn't it?
Yes, a lot more. Think of a kid's brain, like a 7-year-old. It's a sponge.
Yeah.
It has this excess of neural connections. A child is a generalist. They're open to everything. So if you show them a problem, their whole brain just lights up. They burn a massive amount of energy just to exist because everything is connected to everything else.
So it's inefficient.
Extremely inefficient.
Yeah.
So when adolescence hits, the brain basically says, okay, time to specialize. It starts looking at the connections you're not using, and it just snips them. It's use it or lose it.
So we're actually losing brain connections as teenagers.
Billions of them. But it's for a good reason. It's carving away all the noise to build these specialized high-speed circuits. If you're playing piano or you're playing soccer or figuring out social groups, the brain keeps those circuits and it cuts the rest.
Got it. So pruning is the cleanup. What's myelination?
Myelination is the upgrade. This is where the brain takes those connections that are left and wraps them in something called myelin, which is a fatty sheath.
Like the insulation on a wire.
Exactly like that. Imagine a raw copper wire carrying a signal. It leaks, it's slow. Now, wrap that wire in high-quality rubber insulation. The signal moves cleaner and way, way faster.
How much faster?
Dr. Siegel says the signal transmission in a myelinated circuit is up to 3,000 times faster.
3,000. That's a supercomputer upgrade.
It really is. You're going from a dirt road to a fiber optic cable.
Mm-hmm.
But, and this is the big catch, this construction happens in stages. It doesn't happen all at once.
Ah.
So you have this high-speed Ferrari engine being built, but the braking system, the prefrontal cortex, which controls impulse and judgment, that's the last thing to get the upgrade.
So you've got a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes.
Precisely. And while all this is happening, the brain is volatile. Siegel uses this great acronym, ESSENCE, to explain the behavior that comes out of it.
I have that here, ESSENCE. This was really helpful for me because it takes behaviors that just look like acting out and it reframes them as biological necessities.
Let's run through them. So ES is for emotional spark.
Right.
During adolescence, the limbic system, your emotion center, is just on fire. The highs are higher, the lows are lower. Everything feels like life or death.
Which explains the drama. But Siegel says we shouldn't just roll our eyes at this, right?
Because the upside of that emotional spark is passion. It's a zest for life.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When was the last time you felt something as intensely as you did when you were 16? Adults, we tend to flatline a bit. Teens feel everything.
That's so true. I don't think I've ever loved a band or hated a vegetable as much as I did when I was 15.
Exactly. Okay, next is SE, social engagement. This is that huge shift away from parents and toward peers.
The I hate you, Mom, but I would literally die for my friends phase.
And it's not just a phase, it's survival. If you're an adolescent mammal out on the savannah and you don't have a pack, your lunch, you just get eaten.
So the brain literally equates social rejection with death.
It does. Neural imaging shows social rejection lights up the exact same parts of the brain as physical pain. So when a parent says, "Who cares what those kids think?" the teen's brain is just screaming, "I have to care. If I don't belong, I die."
That completely reframes peer pressure. It's not about weak character, it's a safety mechanism.
It is. Okay, now this next one, N for novelty. This one really blew my mind. This explains the risk-taking, but not how you'd think.
You're talking about the dopamine baseline, right?
Yes. This is fascinating. So we know dopamine is the reward chemical. Well, in the teen brain, the baseline level of dopamine, the amount you just have sitting around, it actually drops. It's lower than in a child or an adult.
So normal life feels worse.
Normal life feels boring. It feels gray. An adult can sit on the porch with a coffee and feel pretty content. A teen sits there and feels a dopamine deficit. They feel physically uncomfortable.
But when they do something new,
the dopamine release, the spike, is much higher than in an adult. So you're starting from a place of boredom, and the reward for doing something crazy is massive. They are chemically driven to chase that spike just to feel good.
and this leads to that hyper-rationality idea. I think this is the part parents really need to hear. We always assume teens do dumb things because they don't get the risks, like they think they're immortal.
And that is completely false. Siegel is super clear on this. If you ask a teen, what are the odds of crashing if you drive 100 miles per hour? Oh, they know the stats. They're just as accurate as adults, sometimes even more so.
So they know it's dangerous, but they do it anyway. Why?
Because of hyperrationality.
Yeah.
They aren't ignoring the risk, they're overweighting the reward. They see the danger, but the dopamine hit and the social status from their friends is so valuable to their brain that it just outweighs the con column. They look at the whole equation and say, yep, worth it.
That is terrifying.
It's terrifying for a parent. But without that drive for novelty, and the last piece, CE creative exploration, we would never innovate as a species. We would just do exactly what our parents did.
So the teen brain is designed to look at the status quo and just say, this is boring, I can do it better.
They're the R&D department of humanity.
Okay, let's just pause and look at the creature we've described. They're under massive construction. Their brakes are faulty, they're bored easily because their dopamine is low, they're terrified of being excluded, and they are wired to push their parents away.
It's quite a cocktail.
So how on earth are we supposed to parent them? This brings us to Kazmina Murison and her book, The Calm They Borrow.
And the title really says it all. Murison's whole point is that because the teen brain is remodeling, it often lacks the hardware for self-regulation. When they get flooded with emotion, they physically cannot calm themselves down.
So they need an external source.
They need to borrow the parent's nervous system. It's something called co-regulation.
But here's the problem. In that moment, the teen is screaming because they can't go to a party. The parent usually isn't calm either. The parent is freaking out.
And that's the collision. Mirzan explains it as two nervous systems interacting. If the teen escalates and the parent escalates to match them, usually to, establish authority, you just have two dysregulated brains feeding each other.
But I think a lot of parents feel like they have to escalate. Like, if I stay calm while you're screaming at me, isn't that just being a doormat? Don't I have to show I'm the boss?
That's the common misconception. Mirzan argues true authority doesn't come from volume. It comes from steadiness. A screaming parent isn't an authority figure. They're just another dysregulated person in the room.
So what's the tool? How do you stop the explosion?
She calls it the internal pause.
Take a deep breath. It sounds a little cliche.
It's deeper than that. It's about catching the physiological signal. When your teen rolls their eyes and says, "You're ruining my life," your body reacts before your brain does. Your chest tightens, your heart rate spikes. You go into fight or flight.
Right, the lizard brain takes over.
The internal pause is noticing that physical surge and just refusing to act on it for 1 second. You ground your feet, you acknowledge I'm angry, and you simply wait. You don't throw the grenade back.
Is that the same as just walking away? Can I say, I can't talk to you and leave?
No, and that's a crucial distinction. Mirzan warns against that. If you storm out, the teen's social engagement brain sees that as abandonment. I'm too much for my parents. I am unlovable.
Ah.
The internal pause means staying in the room. You're present, but you're not participating in the chaos.
That requires almost superhuman self-control.
It does. But Mirzan frames it really well. Your triggers are information. If your teen's disrespect triggers a rage in you, that's not really about the teen. That's a mirror. It's showing you your own fear of losing control or your own need for respect to feel worthy.
That is a hard pill to swallow. So the teen is just pressing buttons that were already installed in us.
Exactly. Now, there's another scenario that's even harder for some parents. Not the explosion, but the shutdown, the silence.
I'm fine, and then the lock door.
Mirzan calls this the shutdown. It's a protective state. The teen system is so flooded with that emotional spark we talked about that it literally pulls the plug to survive the overwhelm.
And our instinct as parents is to chase them. What's wrong? Talk to me. Why are you ignoring me?
Which is the worst thing you can do. To a flooded nervous system, that pursuit feels like an attack. It just adds more pressure.
So what do? Just ignore them.
You practice what she calls presence without pressure. You act like a lighthouse. You stay visible. You stay nearby. Maybe you just sit in the living room and read while they're in the kitchen. You're available, but you're not shining a spotlight in their face demanding a status report.
You're waiting for them to signal they're ready.
And they will. If you chase, they run. If you stand still and radiate calm, they eventually circle back to the harbor.
That is a huge shift, from controller to harbor. But okay, let's layer in the third element. We've got the biology, the parenting, now the pressure cooker. The expectations we place on these kids. This is where Carol Dweck's work on mindset comes in.
And this connects directly to parental anxiety. Siegel says parents often obsess over grades and test scores, not because they care about learning, but because it manages their anxiety about the future.
If you get an A, then I can relax because I know you'll be okay.
Right. And this creates what Carol Dweck calls the tyranny of now, the belief that your performance in this one moment defines your entire future.
Dweck is famous for the growth mindset. How does that apply specifically to these teenage brains we're talking about?
She tells this great story about a high school in Chicago that stopped giving out failing grades. If you didn't pass a course, you didn't get an F. You got the grade not yet.
The not yet. I love that.
It completely changes the psychological frame. An F is a destination. It says, you are stupid. This is the end. Not yet implies a journey. It says, you're on a learning curve. You just haven't reached the end yet.
And Dweck found this actually changed brain chemistry.
It changed performance. She found that when students believe their intelligence is fixed, I'm smart or I'm dumb, they're terrified of difficulty. If I'm smart and I have to work hard, does that mean I'm not actually smart? So they cheat or they quit.
They have to protect the label.
Exactly. But if you teach them about brain plasticity, if you literally explain the myelination we talked about and say, hey, when you struggle with this problem, your brain is physically building new insulation on those wires, their grades actually go up. They start to lean into the struggle.
This leads to the praise trap, doesn't it? I feel like this is something we all do with the best intentions. We tell our kids, you're so smart, you're so talented.
And Dweck says, stop it, immediately.
But wait, isn't that building self-esteem?
It's building vulnerability. If you praise talent, you're smart. Then when they fail, the logic is, I must not be smart anymore. You have to praise the process.
Give me an example of that.
So instead of you're a math genius, you say, I really like the strategy you used to solve that. You stuck with it even when it got tricky. You praise the effort, the focus, the resilience. That builds a kid who can handle the real world.
Speaking of the real world, we have to talk about the system we're sending these remodeling brains into. And that brings us to Sir Ken Robinson's critique of education.
Yeah, this is kind of the tragedy of the story. You have this adolescent brain that is biologically wired for creative exploration and divergent thinking, seeing multiple answers to one problem. And we put them in a system that's designed to kill that exact capability.
Robinson points out the hierarchy in schools, right? It's
Yeah.
the same everywhere.
Math and languages are at the top, humanities in the middle, arts at the bottom. And even within the arts, music is seen as more important than drama or dance.
He has that funny line about university professors.
Yes, that they live in their heads and slightly to one side. He jokes that the whole education system encourages us to see our bodies as just a form of transport for our heads, a way to get the brain to the next meeting.
But the serious point he makes is about mistakes.
Right. In a standardized school system, a mistake is the worst thing you can possibly make. It's a red mark. It lowers your grade. But creativity requires the willingness to be wrong. If you aren't prepared to be wrong, you will never come up with anything original.
So we're taking teens who are biologically wired to challenge the status quo, and we're telling them, sit down, fill in the bubble, and whatever you do, don't make a mistake.
We are systematically educating them out of their creative capacities. We're preparing them for the industrial economy of the 19th century, creating compliant workers, not the unpredictable world of the 21st where that divergent thinking is the only thing AI can't do better than us.
Okay, so let's try to pull all this together. We've covered a huge amount of ground. We've got the oatmeal house, the superhighway brain, the internal pause for parents, the power of yet. What's the big takeaway?
I think the red thread here is that the behaviors we struggle with, the risk, the moodiness, the pushback, they aren't flaws. They are features. They are evolutionary necessities. If the teen brain didn't seek novelty and risk, the human race would just stagnate.
So the mission isn't to fix the teenager.
No. The mission is to survive the transition without crushing their spirit. For the parent, that means moving from control to connection, being the steady nervous system they can borrow when theirs is offline.
And for educators and society.
It means moving from a fixed mindset of weeding kids out to a growth mindset of cultivating capacity, recognizing that intelligence isn't just one thing.
There's one final thought from Dr. Siegel that really, really hit me. It's about us, the adults. He suggests that we shouldn't just be trying to get teens to grow up.
This is the profound part. He looks at that essence of adolescence, the emotional spark, the social connection, the drive for novelty. And he says, if you're an adult and you feel dead inside, if life feels gray and boring, it's because you let your adolescent essence die.
You stopped seeking the new. You stopped letting yourself feel passionately about things.
You settled for the oatmeal house.
That is a heavy thought. We spend so much time complaining about their intensity, but maybe we're just jealous of it.
I think we are. Siegel argues that the goal isn't just to help teens survive growing up. It's for us to remember how to live like them, to reclaim that spark.
So the next time your teenager rolls their eyes at you or does something impulsive,
Instead of just correcting them, maybe ask yourself, when was the last time I felt something that intensely? When was the last time I tried something scary just for the rush of it?
maybe they're not the crazy ones. Maybe they're just fully alive.
And we're just the ones who forgot how to be.
Ah, a lot to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.